We're up.
Yep.
Good
Okay,
to go?
Madam Chair.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. I guess we should say the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to go need a vote to go into closed session for discussion and or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under general laws of Rhode Island, RIGL 42-46-5, A1, A2, A4, A8, A9.
So moved.
All
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay. Any individuals who are going to be discussed have been so notified.
So we're leaving this session, correct?
Yes, and
Going
going
to the other link.
Seems anticlimactic after all that, doesn't it, Dave?
Just to
Okay.
hear.
All
Okay.
right. Good luck.
Thank you.
And for to be with us. Okay, I see people.
All right, we're coming back here, folks. Dave. I don't think Karen's gonna join us, so we'll just go forward.
We are still live.
I did text Kyle and let him know that we're headed
He's
back.
coming back.
He should be
Okay.
with us shortly. Yep.
Is there anyone else besides Kyle?
Do I see Lynn? Did we lose Lynn somewhere?
Yeah, I see. Well, Jeff's here. He has an item.
We really need just Kim and Jeff.
Kim's here.
Yep.
Should we give Lynn a minute? Do you think she's coming back? Oh, there
Yeah,
she is.
there she
There's-
is.
There's
There she
Lynn,
is.
and Kyle's logging in as we speak.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, you're all here.
Okay. We're all here now? We can start. Can I get a vote to seal the minutes of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There was one vote taken in executive session. There was a motion to reject the document presented in executive session and a directive to the chair to request renewed negotiation sessions with WTU. Sorry, I'm going back. I'm using my
Madam
phone
Chair, you
here.
just, yep, once you read the vote, you just need to acknowledge what the vote was.
The vote, I'm sorry, the vote was 3-1. The next is announcements on personnel as presented. Mrs. Ruggieri.
Evening, thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, we have one resignation, John McKeon, the music teacher at Veterans, effective June 30th. I just need a vote on that, please.
I move an approval. Is that what you're asking, Ms. Ruggieri?
Yeah,
I move approval.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, before we continue,
Yes, Mr. Adams.
is it Dr. Taylor that's in charge of the YouTube right now? Because it's not in grid view like it normally is. It's just whoever's speaking.
We can look at that. I think Kathy's taking over the host of this meeting now. So it might just be a speaker view versus a grid view on her Zoom.
And we should also note for the record that Member Adams had recused himself from the executive session.
Thank you.
Okay, do you want me
Are
to
we
go
all
on?
right? Yes, please.
Okay, we have one unrestricted leave of absence that also requires a vote. It's Ahmad Ali, a math teacher at Pilgrim High School for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year.
Move approval.
Second.
Any
Isn't that
discussion?
appointment, though? Is that appointment or?
That's a unrestricted leave of absence.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Math teacher
Okay.
at Pilgrim.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now we have several people to welcome to the district, so I ask you to bear with me. I have a long list here. I'd like to welcome Kelvin Alves as the behavior specialist at Wyman Elementary School. Abby Flaherty, a teacher assistant in kindergarten at Lippet. Maura Sharkey, teacher assistant and grade 1 co-taught at Oakland Beach. Ashley DePasquale, the receptionist in the transportation office and administration. Tatiana Phillips, a teacher assistant in the IES program at Warwick Neck. Edward Dan Mackler, a one-on-one teacher assistant at Windman. Amanda Iovino, teacher assistant kindergarten at Park. Kelly Stevenson, a behavior intervention team teacher assistant and administration based. Taryn Enright, an elementary secretary at Park Elementary. Lori Cardoza, a teacher assistant CNA at Pilgrim. Susie Carvalho, a night custodian at Scott. And then one professional appointment, Kristen Gontarek, a special educator in the intermediate IES program at Warwick Neck. Again, I'd like to welcome all of them to the district. And I also have some coaches to announce. Again, this disclaimer is the stipends will be paid to the coaches on a prorated basis solely for the number of weeks that the season is active per Rhode Island Interscholastic League and WPS policy. No compensation will be paid for any preseason practice or meetings held outside of the real season duration. And all of these appointments are for 1 year only. So we have Melanie Brunel as the assistant coach of girls indoor track at Pilgrim. The appointment of Madison Balatowski, assistant coach of the girls ice hockey co-op, pending certification in state and national BCI. The appointment of James Kennedy, assistant coach girls ice hockey co-op for, again, 1 year only. Appointment of Blake Simpson, head coach football Pilgrim. Taylor Levin, head coach cheerleading Pilgrim. Jason Mativier, head coach girls volleyball Pilgrim. James Stringfellow, head coach football Tollgate. And Casey Murphy, head coach of cheerleading at Tollgate. I wish everyone well, and Human Resources is available if anyone needs any help. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome all to our district for those who have been here and those who haven't. Our school committee is here. If you need any of us, I know that we're all willing and available. So welcome and good luck to you, and we wish you the best. On to new business. Report out of votes taken in executive session. We already did that. And that number 2 was covered, I believe, too. Mr. Hunius? You're on mute.
That's correct, Madam Chair. I apologize. Yeah,
Okay,
one
so
and two,
those
you
are
can just
both-
go right over.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Nope, you got it.
Discussion action, non-review.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
No, she's not muted. We lost her audio.
Okay.
Lost the audio.
We voted on that already, I believe.
We lost your audio, so
I got
Agenda
kicked
item
off.
3 has already been,
We've already did item 3 too, right?
We do need a vote in open session for that.
We do?
That's
did, yeah.
correct. We did not vote on that in executive session, so that
Okay.
needs a vote in open.
I move approval on agenda item 3, non-renewal pre-deprivation hearing professionals.
Second? Do I have a second?
oh, I
second.
thought you seconded it.
Can someone give me a second?
Nathan
second.
gave you a second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to number 4, discussion action on contract award technology Promethean board stands for new elementary Promethean boards. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. What we have before you tonight is Promethean board stands to complement some of the Promethean boards that we just recently purchased for our elementary schools. You'll recall that with your approval a few months ago, we approved, or you approved, the purchase of 194 Promethean boards for elementary teachers. We've worked with Mr. Baxter and the great team of folks he has in his department to strategize the installation of these Promethean boards. And there's an option for stands, mobile stands for teachers. And after polling the teachers of those 194 boards, approximately 51 teachers are looking to make their Promethean boards mobile. And with the ordering of those stands, we can do that for them and install those on a cart as opposed to the fixed in the wall or on the wall. So that's the item we have before you this evening.
Any
Madam Chair?
questions on this? Yes, Mr. Cornell.
Dr. Taylor, regarding Promethean boards, so you know where all those Promethean boards are going to go now? Like which classrooms, which teachers? Do you have that all planned out?
We do, yep, Mr. Cornell. So back even before we ordered the Promethean boards, we made sure that we worked with the principals. They identified the folks on their teams that were going to be getting the Promethean boards right down to those room numbers. And Mr. Gothberg from Mr. Baxter's team was instrumental going around and verifying the locations with the teachers and the power. And we're lining that up now with Mr. Oliver and his team for the installation. And then these would be 51 folks that rather than the wall spot would prefer the mobile stand.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure, Mr. Testa.
I think it's 3 questions. I think 2 for you, Dr. Taylor, and 1 for Mr. Baxter. This equipment's all, we have a barcoding system, right? So we can keep track of our assets.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So because of all these Promethean boards were ordered out of the COVID grant money, they're all inventory tagged and stamped. And so there is an asset tag that goes directly on them. That's correct.
And the order quantity, is it 194 or 51?
That's correct. So yes and yes. So the first 194 was the total Promethean board order. You'll recall back when we presented this to you a few months back, the request for your approval was as many boards as the grant money would allow us to purchase. And the total number there was 174. Then on top of that, principals went back and worked with their PTOs, worked with their Feinstein money, and different schools wanted additional boards on top of that. And they added 20 to the mix. So the total quantity is the 194. Of those 194 classrooms, 51 prefer the cart.
Okay, that's fine. And finally, Mr. Baxter, this question really applies to both agenda items. I know we put that it's expected to be covered in the next round of COVID relief. Is that a reasonable expectation to have in your view?
Yeah, I believe it is, Mr. Testa. That's a good question. So and for a couple of reasons, so we've got the expected next round of COVID funding. We still have open the FEMA reimbursement program, and those the guidelines for that program have been relaxing, and the amount of reimbursement has been increased from 75 to 100%. But just between those two, we're sure we can find a home for it, so to speak. The other, not to go into too much detail, but the other issue is that we did purchase these, and with COVID money, the Promethean boards, and we need to get them up for maximum utility this year. And the constraint, the bottleneck was really mounting them to boards, mounting them through the chalkboards. And so this order helps us, and the order was originally going to be for the 194 stands or whatever. Only 51 teachers opted for the mobile stand, and that allows us to not have to mount it through the blackboard. And then parallel with this, we are working on an alternative to mounting it through mounting the Promethean board through the blackboards. and having an adjustable bracket. So we'll be back to you probably at the next school committee meeting for the other part of this emergency purchase. And that will allow us to mount the boards, a bracket above the blackboard, but still hang the Promethean board in front of, the whiteboard, chalkboard surface. So
Thank you.
that explains the difference between the 51 and the.
Okay. And then you led me one more question to Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor, what time frame wise, when would you expect everything to be finished so when teachers come in, they can use these boards?
Absolutely, yeah. And so for that, I'll volley that also over to Mr. Baxter.
Okay.
Right now with the carts, so the 51 carts, as soon as we have your approval, if we have your approval, we'll order those carts, and that should be 8 to 10 days for those carts to come in, and then Mr. Baxter with his team to assemble those carts and get those 51 deployed. And then he's working on, as he mentioned, the design for the bracket. And so I don't want to misspeak on that, Mr. Baxter. I don't know if there's a timeline you have on the bracket and the installation.
Yeah, sure. So on the carts. So again, if these carts come in about a week or so, week and a half, with the assembling the carts, our staff can I can put more folks on assembling the carts. I had other issues drilling through boards, and I only had 2 qualified, competent, asbestos competent staff that I could use to mount those. But for this, I can use the custodians in the building and the mechanics. So we're hoping to get these 50 mobile carts deployed within a few days, and then it turns back over to Dr. Taylor and his team to actually do their magic and get the get the boards up and running. So that it should be in a matter of weeks. I would say two weeks plus, 2 to 3 weeks, for the carts to come in, for us to get them all assembled and into the schools, and then for Jeff and his team to, do whatever they have to do to finish it off. I don't have a lead time on the wall mount brackets yet. It should be relatively quick, but we're still waiting on a quote for the wall mount, the modified wall mount bracket to mount above the chalkboard.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
On to the next discussion action. Oh, we need to vote on that, don't we? The
I move
cards?
approval. I move approval of the purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. 4-0. Next topic, discussion action, contract award technology, Chromebox upgrades for secondary Promethean boards. Again, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we have before you on this item is a upgrade to our Promethean boards that currently exist in secondary schools. And it's the computer piece behind the board that makes it run. What I'd like to do is if it's okay and with your permission, I have a few slides to show you on what kind of led us to this point in requesting the replacement.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. So, and I want to start off by just mentioning that I recall at the last meeting, we did have a public comment that mentioned the secondary Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi issues that we were having in the schools. And that's definitely worth highlighting here. And the Chromeboxes are the solution to that, but I want to explain exactly why. When the kids started coming back to our secondary schools back a number of weeks ago after the holiday break, we noticed a lag in our Wi-Fi, and we were really scratching our head. We worked with our managed services providers over at Wally, and we kept attempting and beating our head against the wall trying to figure out what was going on with the secondary Wi-Fi, because that person that made that public comment was absolutely right. We need stable Wi-Fi for our teachers and for our students. So just to kind of overview some things that kind of led us to this point about these Chromeboxes is we deployed, again, Wally deployed what's called YBot sensors. They're essentially like a virtual technician there that monitors the Wi-Fi to see what in the world is going on. Why is it that when nobody was in the classroom, Wi-Fi was working good, and when the kids were entering and the teachers were starting up their classrooms, the Wi-Fi was going a little bit crazy on us? So they did that and they were monitoring that. And then what they found is the idea to change the configurations on all the access points, to update the licensing, and to make sure that all of our access points, those are the things in the ceilings of each of the classrooms, were firing as good as they could. They changed the frequencies on those from a 2.4 gigahertz to 5 gigahertz. All that means is just a stronger signal for higher speeds. Although 5 gigahertz broadcasts a little bit of a smaller area, it's a more powerful signal. So they did modify all that for us. They also looked at our Wi-Fi policies, which are just the settings of our Wi-Fi, and they made a bunch of changes there. And this was all mostly done at Tollgate because that's where the biggest issues were happening for us at that time. Then we contacted Ocean, who's our internet service provider. And through their firewall, we wanted them to prioritize what I call the teacher traffic. That's the Google Meets that the folks were logging on to. That seemed to be an issue when the teachers were conducting their classes for both in-person and distance learning students. We also deployed additional access points at Tollgate, 23 access points additionally at Tollgate. We've also deployed 3 at Pilgrim and 4 or 5 at Veterans. And then after all that was done, and the best analogy that I can use is that it's like if you woke up one day and found water in the basement, and we replaced the roof and the attic and the whole second floor. And then once we did all that, we realized it was the shower that was leaking the whole time. And so that's the analogy that I use, is that we did a lot of great work at Tollgate Wi-Fi, but after all that was done, our Wi-Fi was still bogging down. And that's when the broadcast traffic detection determined that the culprit was the Promethean boards. And so that's what led us to this kind of emergent need right now, and the need to bring this to your attention for approval. Just to show you some speeds though, is that currently in our Promethean boards, and they were installed back 4 or 5 years ago. So those active connect boxes, which is what they're currently called on the Promethean boards. I like the analogy that Dr. Thornton uses. He calls it the brains of this. There's no better way to talk about it. It's really what makes the Promethean boards work. And the Active Connect Wi-Fi is end of life anyway. It's 4 or 5 years old. It's obsolete. As a matter of fact, we were working to include that in our budget presentations for next year anyway. But these are the speeds in the megabits per second between what we're seeing with an Active Connect hitting our Wi-Fi and when we tested in all of our secondary schools a sample Chromebox. Before I would come to you for an approval for a purchase, I wanted to make sure that we did our testing. So we tested that in each of the 4 schools, and you can see what the speeds are pulling with the Chromebox versus the Active Connect. This is Wi-Fi compared to Wi-Fi. So, and just to kind of give you a comparison before I came on tonight, my own home is drawing about 120 download speed. So to have our schools be below 50 in all 4 cases with the current technology that's there versus swapping it out. And as you can see, the red bars really just are screaming fast speeds. This compares if we were to wire the boxes versus wiring the Chrome boxes. It's actually beneficial in classrooms that have a spare internet connection right near the board. We're going to look to just add a patch cable and plug in the Active Connect boxes. But now you're seeing some schools are going to be getting speeds in the 700s. Just gives you a stark comparison about where they were. And then obviously the best to the worst case to the best case would be an Active Connect current Wi-Fi solution that we currently have versus the Chromebox. And as you can see, just screaming fast speeds. So we tested it. We did try at Tollgate High School where the primary problem surfaced. Adam Jones, who's our technician over there, did phenomenal work. He quarterbacked the work between Wally and the school. I'd be remiss not to give him a shout out there. All of our technicians at the secondary schools have done a really good job with this. And like I said, they all tested this technology in their current boards. But Adam also worked collaboratively with Sean McNamara, who's a tech integration specialist there, testing the Chromebox, demoed it with a few teachers, just to make sure that when I came before you, we could check all those boxes to make sure that this, in fact, was the right solution. So I just wanted to take a moment there. And I figured it was good to update you on the situation, but also in response to that community member with the public comment. We listen to those. We hear those too, and maybe this information helps the community to kind of know what we've been working on behind the scenes, and just updates them that we're really doing our best with this.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taylor. Does anyone have any questions?
Madam Chair, just one, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Taylor, once we, if we approve this and they get ordered, how soon and then how much work is it to take out the old brains and put in the new brains?
Well, and that's an excellent question. The chair, Ms. Cobden, had approved this as an emergency expenditure just so that I could get the ball rolling. They're in our buildings as of today. If you were not to approve, I would just ship them back and get them back. But I wanted to make sure that they were ready for your approval. And that way our technicians can start deploying this week when the teachers are not there and the kids are not there. And then also part of this deployment, so any teachers that are listening right now too, it's important to mention, there's communications that are going to come out from the tech integration specialist and the technician. So nobody walks in on Monday with something new that they're unfamiliar with either. We just want to preface that as well. But they're ready to rock and roll tomorrow. They haven't installed any yet because we need the approval because I don't want to uninstall anything, but they're there and ready to go.
Okay, so by the time we come back, most of it should be complete.
Yeah, so what I've asked the technicians to do is identify the folks that were having the biggest issues in their classrooms with this connectivity. Because some teachers that are using the Promethean boards to mirror their Chromebook are having less issues than those that were using their Promethean board as a separate standalone device. So those folks are going to be prioritized first to get them up to speed, but also at the same time, we want to communicate that too, because it is a slightly different platform between what they're used to and what this is. Although much better streamlined and a lot more better features with the newer technology, we don't want anybody to walk into a surprise either. So we're going to work on that over the next couple of days, weather permitting, of course, and whatever's going to happen with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just would like to add, so my colleagues know that this was all explained to me before I approved it. I knew that I'm pretty sure that nobody would not approve it. And because the Promethean boards are key to having our schools run properly during COVID, it should be covered. Is that correct, Dr. Baxter? Mr. Baxter, am I frozen?
No, I could hear you. Your picture was, but I could hear you.
Okay,
And
okay.
yes, yeah, the same response to the
Right.
to the bracketry applies to the brains.
Right. This is definitely something that we need right now, and we're having distance learning and in person. So, so I guess right now we just need a motion.
Move approval.
Move approval on this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. 4-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. We appreciate your hard work on this. And I'm glad it's going to be taken care of because I know that there was a lot of issues that you guys are trying to figure out. So glad it was sorted. So all we have left is future meetings. Our next monthly school committee meeting is Tuesday, March 9th of 2021. All I need now is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Everyone stay healthy.
Good night.